Hello. Yes, we are back here once again for the next episode of A Conversation with Kely episode. Who knows? I lost track a long time ago.
Who knows? That's
But,
my favorite.
as always,
number.
Yes, it's my favorite number. It's honestly a number that I personally have become quite affectionate about. But yes, but in all seriousness, I am here, my loving co-host Allie. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. All my days off were pretty chill. Just went for walks with Magoo, and then today is my third day off, and then I go back to work tomorrow. Literally, I just did some errands with my mom, and I tried the new Starbucks Valentine's drink, which from TikTok, which was really good. And now I'm just kind of vibing and chilling. I'm very excited to talk about this episode.
Nice.
But yeah, nothing too crazy today.
Yes. So, like she said, you already know what we're doing, but I didn't say what we're doing. We are here, of course, to talk about the latest episode of the Traitors US. And listen, I mean, I will get into it right now. The first couple episodes were so promising. I mean, it really was just hyping up to be everything we kind of hoped it would.
Oh, yeah.
But I think, with how good those first 3 episodes was, there was definitely a fear that, like, okay, maybe this was just like a really strong start and it's not going to deliver as much. After this episode, this is truly turning into like event must see. And I said this already, but like, especially this episode, like really solidifies it. Like, this is must see reality TV. Like, this is absolutely an event that like anyone who's even like somewhat of a fan of these shows needs to witness. Because this episode was truly just like insane. This is everything we really could have wanted out of this show. This is already surpassing season 1 in like so many incredible ways. Really just everything you could want out of a episode of a reality TV show. I feel like we had in this episode. There were fights, there was drama, there were some really interesting confrontations, there were some really funny moments, such an incredible twist. I mean, just what's not to love about this one? Like, if they keep this up, this already might end up being the best reality TV show of this year, even though we're literally only in January.
Yeah, literally. Like, this is such a just fantastic season all around so far.
Oh yeah.
Like, every episode has been super strong, and it's just literally reality TV gold. Honestly, it's like really it's literally getting up there with like Claim to Fame season 2 and Survivor 45.
Yeah, it really is. But it makes me really excited to check out the other iterations of the show, which we will definitely do when this is over, because I'm really excited to check out like UK and Australia and Canada.
We'll probably do
like
season reviews. Yeah, we'll probably just do season reviews of those. But obviously, like before the next season of Traitors Canada, we'll probably that's probably when we'll watch season 1 finally, because obviously we have the draft for it. But we'll probably watch it and do a season review before the next season airs. But then the others we'll probably just do season reviews for.
Yeah, and with that said, once again, we're going to be talking about the episode. We're also going to be talking about Uncloaked again. I do have a lot of notes for that as well, so we're just going to get right into it. There's a lot to talk about. So we ended, of course, on last episode on this massive cliffhanger with Parvati and her having to, well, all the traitors, but her specifically having to, murder somebody in plain sight with like the poison chalice. We didn't really know how it was going to go down, and I definitely would not have expected what she was going to do. She says the pressure is on, it needs to happen. There's no room for error. She goes into the room, and after contemplating who to murder, she ultimately decides to poison Ekin-Su, is the person that she murders here, which I was like really shocked about, but it makes sense. She says she's done the dirty deed. The murder's been done. She's not okay with murdering her in this way because she adores her, but she had to die. She says Dan was right next to her, and she doesn't even know if he saw it and registered it. And I feel like this honestly is probably the thing that sadly does make the most sense. It's like, you
Mhm.
don't want to have to murder somebody that like you're close to, but you also kind of have to think of it as like, who's going to drink out of this cup? If they don't feel good with me, they're not going to want to do that. Like,
Yeah.
why don't I just get it to be somebody that is close to me, that, you know, comes across as like totally unassuming, someone that wouldn't really think anything of it. So I thought this made like a lot of sense. I was really surprised at first, but especially the more the episode went on, I think this was absolutely the right choice.
Oh, yeah. I thought it was, like, such a great choice too, and it, like,
Yeah.
just it's very, like it's honestly the more unexpected move she would have done. Like, I think MJ or someone would have been, like or Shereé, like, those are more, like, just
That would have been a death sentence for Dan.
yeah, that's and also it's just that's more, like, predictable, and I'm glad
Mhm.
she went with the, like, more unpredictable move.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I think the thing that they're really recognizing this season as a traitor is like, when you murder somebody, it has to be completely random. Like, it should not be somebody that has any sort of suspicion on you. It should not be someone that has any sort of doubt. It should be somebody that nobody would suspect would get murdered, because it makes
Mhm.
you it keeps you from getting detected, but it also keeps the paranoia going. And as long as there's paranoia going and it's not
Yeah.
directed at you, you're fine. So yeah, I mean, I think this was a great choice. I think this really is just speaking to how much better, again, Shereé, masterful job last season, but how much better the majority of the traders are doing this time around
Oh, yeah.
really does speak to them here. I
Mhm.
think they're just doing such a great job. So Ekin-Su, we get this really ironic moment where she tells them if she's gone tonight, she loves them all, not realizing that she is going to be gone. Dan says he has no clue who has gotten murdered or who drank from the cup, and Parvati hasn't told him anything. He thinks the ideal victim would be Larsa or MJ, who's really starting to question him a lot within the game. And then Alan tells us that, so yeah, Dan, and Phaedra are pretty much none the wiser at this point. They have no
Mhm.
idea what's going on, and that makes it that
Yeah.
much spicier. I
Oh,
love the
yeah.
idea that Parvati doesn't even get to tell them who she did this to.
It's
So
so good.
yeah.
Even though her and Dan are like a duo, she still kept it a secret from him at first.
Well, she kind of had to, because I
Yeah.
would assume, I don't know for sure, but I would assume what probably happened is like, as soon as she poisoned Ekin-Su, probably a few minutes later, the bells chimed and they all went to bed. Like, that's probably what happened. So we then get this really like abrupt piece of information that I really do think they could have spent at least a little bit more time on, but I understand why they didn't.
Yeah.
Because Alan tells us that it's been a really eventful night in the castle, and apparently after the day's events, Deontay's left the game while Ekin-Su has been targeted. So yeah, let's just unpack this real quick. This is very
Yeah.
much like Deontay's left. Okay, let's move on. Like, they don't even give us a chance to like digest how he
I
left. But I gotta
know.
say, like, it's not really that surprising, because the last time we see Deontay in the show, he basically
Yeah.
says, like, I don't know if this is for me. I don't know if I can do this anymore. So I'm not gonna say like I didn't see this coming, because I absolutely did. We
Mhm.
literally said last week, like, I think Deontay might leave the game just because like
Yeah.
it's becoming too much for him. And he did explain a little bit that apparently this was due to like some trauma, like some childhood trauma that he went through, where like people were
Hmm.
accusing each other of stuff and he just
Mhm.
didn't really want to be a part of that, like falsely accusing each other. So yeah, he ended up leaving. What did you think of this overall? Because I don't think I was not shocked. I was just shocked by how quick they like brushed it aside.
Yeah, same. Like they didn't really go over anything at all. Like I mean,
Yeah.
it wasn't shocking because yeah, it
They're
really
probably just
was
trying to be respectful to him.
probably maybe he didn't really want them to talk about it.
No, I would
So
assume so.
yeah, I mean, it's not shocking. Like I do feel bad
Yeah.
for him, and I wish him well. But yeah, maybe it was just it was just getting like really it was like taking a big effect on him. So he was
Yeah.
just like it was, and like he tried it out, and I guess it was
Mhm.
just not for him. He realized the game is just maybe too much.
Yeah, I think Deontay just seems like, and I said this last week, he just seems like he's too nice for this. Like, he
He does.
generally just seems like he's too good of a guy for something like this, where it's like he's someone that's all about loyalty. He's someone that's always going to be about trust and things like that. And just the idea of having to now, distrust somebody like Max that he had this really close bond with in the game, and him being so direct and throwing him out, and then him realizing, oh, I did all of that for nothing. Yeah, it's going to take a toll on you, especially if you're not used to this. Because listen, we can make fun all we want, and I would make fun if this was like a regular reality star, but like, no, this is just like a boxer. Like, this isn't someone who's like used to something like this. He probably didn't know what he was getting himself into. He probably didn't really.
Yeah, it's kind of like Max too. Like Max is more of a dancer and he's a boxer, so it's like this is just way too much for them. Like they're not like the cutthroat type.
No, they're not strategic players at all. So, I mean, I'd love to see Deontay come back one day, but I really just feel like this is not really like his showing. Like, I think if he's going to do a reality show, it should probably be one where you don't have to like vote people out and things like that, because I think it's just too much for him. So
definitely.
I don't know. Maybe now that he has connections to housewives, maybe we'll see him on like a housewife show, or we'll see him on like Dancing with the Stars or something.
Or he can just go on like a game all about just comps.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. So we get to the breakfast here, and I will say, breakfast, the way this twist played out, I really wasn't sure what was going to happen, and I gotta say, the way they did it was so much more exciting than I would have expected it to. So the first two to enter, and I love that this was the case, are Dan and Phaedra. So yes, we have a chance for the Traitors to talk one-on-one. They're very happy they get to talk in private. He asks if they murdered anyone, if she saw anything. She says she doesn't know. Phaedra's honestly not sure if anyone would drink from Parvati's poison cup, because she's not the most liked, but the girls do like to have a strong drink, so maybe they were gullible enough to do it. And then Parvati comes out. So yes, all three Traitors have a chance to talk. I love getting to see this.
Also, it was like so like ruthless to say that Parvati's not well liked. How rude.
I mean, she's not wrong. Like, that's the thing. Like, we did see in episode 1 where immediately she was being accused by Larsa of like being a traitor. So I have to assume that, like,
I mean, to be fair,
Parvati,
it's basic behavior for housewives to say.
Yeah, I think Parvati isn't as great isn't in as great of a spot as like we think she is, and I think the edit's kind of making it seem like she's in like a stronger spot. I mean, we'll have to see next week, but I think if you're like not someone who's like a big like a big like reality TV player on like competitive shows, I think that maybe Parvati they're not like jiving with as much. So yeah, I think that might be the issue.
I can see that,
but. Yeah, Parvati's the next to come out, and Dan then tells her they truly have no idea what happened, and she's surprised that neither of them know about it. He says they don't even know if they got anyone. She says that she had to throw a Hail Mary because nobody was going to drink out of the cup, and she tells them right there it was Ekin-Su to drink out of it, and they are both shocked, and she tells them it was only because the only person she thought would do it. Phaedra is especially mortified here and tells them to fan her, and we get some amazing content from Phaedra here where she's like, oh Lord, not Ekin-Su, not Ekin-Su.
So good.
Yeah, that's alone. That is why Phaedra is just like TV gold. Like, just get her on everything.
Please.
Yeah, that was such an amazing moment.
So good.
Yeah. So Parvati says they had not talked prior about murdering Ekin-Su. She was not on any of their lists to kill, so it was a big surprise. And again, this is exactly why you do murder an Ekin-Su, because she's not on their radar at all. Exactly. She wasn't suspicious of any of them. Her main focus was Janelle. Like, that's exactly why you take her out here. So I thought it made perfect sense to do that. And also, I mean, as we've seen, Ekin-Su is not the most... Wait, what were you going to say?
Always all like housewives women or whatever are always like, let's just go for Janelle. Like, it's always the Janelle-y.
Yeah, literally. No, I was gonna say, we've also seen Ekin-Su. I mean, I hate to say it, she's not the most strategically sound player. So no, it's like, like she seems like a nice person, but like she's not the most strategically sound player. So I feel like it makes sense to take someone like her out here.
I kind of want to watch her Love Island season.
I mean, yeah, well, Love Island UK, let's go. So maybe that was the season that Rue was watching in Euphoria. Who knows? So Yeah, so basically, Phaedra tells Parvati this is going to put a huge target on her back like crazy since she voted for her last night. And Parvati says she didn't know what else to do. Dan is just happy she was able to get someone. Spoilers, might not be the first time that Parvati puts a target on Phaedra's back. We'll get to that a little bit later. But yeah, it does not seem like the Traitors are maybe sticking as closely together as we think. We'll get into that. But yeah, it's very interesting the way this is playing out. So Dan says the fact that Phaedra voted for Ekin-Su last night may actually be really good for him long term, that he may have to use at some point to his advantage. And I mean, we see Dan in just like full on mastermind mode this episode. Like, this is why Dan really has not missed a step strategically. And the second he said, I'm like, oh, he's going to cause some shit here. And we'll get into it because he definitely does try to cause some shit this episode. So after a short talk from the three Traitors, which again, I love the fact that all three of the Traitors just got to talk one-on-one. Nobody else was there. It was great to see. I don't know if they're going to do that again, but I really like getting to see that here. We don't get to see that enough because, I mean, there's not a lot of time where the Traitors are going to be able to talk one-on-one if they're not in the turret. So it was cool to actually get to see that. So
it's amazing.
Bergie, who I still keep forgetting is there. There's really just not much going on there. And Janelle are the next to arrive.
He's literally just like so like useless as a player.
Yeah, I will say, big episode for Janelle. She has a lot to do in this episode. Really makes me feel like she is getting decently far in this game. But Janelle says that she's delighted to see the people sitting there because she loves all of them so much. And if Phaedra left, she'd be 100% not okay. But if any other housewives left, she can move on with her life and wouldn't care. And this, again, really speaks to just like how great Phaedra's social game is, that like she is so much better insulated compared to the rest of the housewives. All the other housewives, like, people just don't really seem to care much about. They're not really connecting with. But Phaedra, they are. And again, it really just speaks to how good Phaedra's playing the game.
Oh, yeah. The only other housewife I can see kind of doing okay socially is Tamra.
Maybe, but Tamra has some other problems that we'll talk about. So the next to arrive are Trishelle and CT. I will say, very shady order this time around, because you have like the three Traitors, then you have the two challenge people, then you have like they were definitely, this was definitely intentional. Like, you can't tell me this was not an intentional order. So Janelle asks everyone who they think got murdered. Trishelle, I almost forgot how to talk. Trishelle says she's been worried about MJ, and they all agree. She says she's worried because of how fake she is and voting for people no one else does, and maybe that's making the Traitors mad. Can I just say how stupid this is? Like, this doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It's like, okay, yes, MJ's voting like on her own, but that's not what a traitor would do. A traitor would want to vote with the majority. So I really just don't think Trishelle is very good at like clocking the Traitors. I think she keeps focusing on very like minute details that don't mean as much as she thinks it does. But it is very entertaining to watch, just seeing just how off base some of the faithfuls are. Trishelle being easily one of the worst of them.
She's terrible as a player.
Yeah. So Dan talks about how they've lost 5 faithfuls so far, which they all think is insane. I will say, I do think Dan does a better job in this episode, at least from what we see, of trying to talk a bit more, trying to kind of give his opinion, and trying to, get everyone on his side. So they notice it's mostly been guys. CT asked if they can get a woman this time to switch it up, which, I mean, yeah, he's not wrong. All the guys keep going out one by one, which not necessarily a bad thing. I'm not complaining.
Not a bad thing, because women power, but like...
Oh, yeah. So CT says there's only 5 out of 6 guys left. Everyone from Bravo, meaning the housewives, are still here. So he's sensing a little bit of a pattern, and he hopes a Bravo housewife could be murdered for once. And I loved hearing this, because I talked about last week how I felt like the housewives were probably the most like united, like nobody was going to recognize it. Nobody was going to realize the connection that they had, when no, they've made it like completely obvious and everyone's kind of seeing through it. So I really like that immediately they're like, we got to split the housewives up here. This is not beneficial for any of us.
Also, CT's name is actually Chris Tamburello.
Oh, okay. So Kevin and Sandra are the next two.
CT from Connecticut. No, I'm kidding.
Sure. So Kevin and Sandra are the next to arrive, and I will say, not a good episode for Kevin. Like, not at all a good episode for Kevin.
I feel like he's probably going to get murdered soon.
I think he's probably the next spoilers, but we'll see.
We'll
So
see.
immediately following them are Larsa, Tamra, and Shereé. Phaedra then compliments Tamra, and she jokingly says she was tired of looking like a boy. I thought that was kind of a funny line. So
That was funny.
Janelle then kind of gives us an update on where everyone stands in the game. And I mean, unlike last season, these people are absolutely playing. Like, we have some very clear alliances here. There are the Bravo people who are absolutely working together. They are the clickiest of clicks, but it's fine. And then there's the Gamers clique, which is CT, Dan, Sandra, and Parvati, which I fucking love that alliance.
So
like, that is top tier. The fact that, like, we have those four and Janelle. Like, my God, we are eating so good when it comes to the show.
Amazing.
And then it's the Faithful clique, which are Bergie, Peter, Trishelle, and John. Also, Kevin is one, but he's a really dumb Faithful from what she says.
I can see like I can see Bergie being murdered soon too. And then Peter, I mean, he seems like the nice guy who he has some moments, but
Peter's going to be murdered in the next episode.
I
really think that's going to happen.
I could see him being like just a collateral damage kind of murder.
Well, again, you want to go for someone who's very unassuming and not somebody that anyone's like suspicious of. So going for Peter like makes the most sense. I'll get more into that a little bit later on. But yeah, like I said, I mean, she's not wrong about Kevin. Kevin really does give that like airhead energy in this episode.
Oh, yeah.
He's just, I saw so many people saying on Twitter, it's like when you knock and there's like, you knock on his head and there's nothing there. He very much gives that energy in this episode. I would very much agree with that. So yeah. So basically, this means it's down, of course, to MJ, John, and Ekin-Su. Larsa mentions how everyone that has been murdered has been in her inner circle, and that has to be the link. Of course, it has to. It's all about Larsa. Of course, they're all just going after her, even though there's
she just wants to be the leader, but she's just very annoying about it.
Well, what really annoys me about her in this episode and why I really think that she puts a very unnecessary target on her back here is that she really tries to make it seem like they have it out for her and that they're just going for her when like it literally has nothing to do with that. It's literally just like just happens to be people that she's aligned with. I mean, I guess my answer is just find better allies, like I don't know what else to tell you.
Literally.
And it's not like Larsa's like alone. Like Larsa has the housewives on her side, so she didn't need to be doing any of this. But she says that this has to be the link. She was really close with Bananas. She was really close with Max. And if someone were to murder MJ, it's all gone. And Peter mentions how Ekin-Su is the only one that had votes that won't be here yet, so they all shut it down. So they're very suspicious that Ekin-Su is a traitor here, which of course is very ironic considering what happens.
So funny.
Out of nowhere, even though we think that, because Phaedra says by no means does she want Ekin-Su murdered, she really just hopes this doesn't make her suspicious, doesn't understand what Parvati's doing. So out of nowhere, Ekin-Su arrives, and I'm like, what's going on? So
I know, right?
So Phaedra's confused what's going on, thinking it didn't work out, or Ekin-Su is the second coming of Jesus Christ. She thinks maybe there has been a bit of a resurrection. So MJ also then arrives, which makes them think that John has been murdered. Janelle is very confused by this since he isn't working with anyone. He's basically a lone wolf. She's starting to think the Traitors may not really be that good at this game and might actually be kind of stupid. So
I don't know why, but I feel like John could be someone who just like who can be kind of like a Kate.
Yeah, no, because I don't think they're suspicious of John anymore. Like Kate, they were suspicious of all season. I don't think they're gonna be as suspicious of John because it seems like he's pretty much cleared now. I think the Kate of this season is Kevin. I think that's probably the best person to call the Kate of the season. So John then arrive, or Janelle, I could also say is like the Kate of the season because they all just keep like going for her. So John then arrives and they are all confused as it seems that there has been no murder. And John also is very confused by this. So Alan then comes out and clears it up and tells them that they may have noticed nobody died last night. He says today, however, one of them will be because yesterday one of them was poisoned by a traitor. They committed murder in plain sight right under their noses. And while the poison player is with them at the table, by the end of today's mission, they will be dead. And oh my God, I love this edition. Like, this is
it's
such
so
a
good.
great idea. And this is, again, I've said it before, like, this is exactly the kind of cast you do something like that with. You do something really unexpected. You do something that's really going to make them scramble. I like this a lot because
Me
even for
too.
the audience, like, we don't know how this is going to play out. We don't know what's going to happen. This is mostly unfamiliar territory. So I really like this a lot. What did you think of this twist that they did?
Oh, I thought it was fantastic. It was, like, so
Yeah.
spicy and, like,
Oh,
especially
yeah.
for, like, a cutthroat, ruthless cast like this,
Yes.
it's, like, the perfect thing to add on to it,
Oh, yeah.
and, like, this is the kind of mission that is, like, very important. Like, all these missions this season have been very important,
Yeah.
and, like, this I would love to have more things like this because this is just really cool.
Yeah, this was, and it was really just like the whole episode, it almost feels like this ticking clock. Like, you don't
Yeah,
know when Ekin-Su is going to be poisoned, and I didn't know how she was going to be poisoned. So it was really cool the way they kind of like kept us on our toes here. So they're
yeah.
dressed appropriately to pay their final respects. Peter then asked if anyone was given a drink yesterday, and Parvati feels that she had a moment with Ekin-Su that was so obvious in plain view with multiple people, and she's now realizing that the person she's poisoned, who she loves, is now going to die in front of her face, and she has to pretend she doesn't know anything about this. And so she really puts on her poker face here. And I will just say, I've only seen Parvati in 4 episodes. I absolutely get the hype. Like, she is
Oh,
so
yeah.
good at
Oh,
having
she's
that
fantastic.
and just completely just dispelling any suspicion of her. She's doing an amazing job with that.
Yes.
So Peter says that once they see what happens, breadcrumbs are going to follow. Kevin says to Tamra he thinks that she poisoned him because she doesn't want to see him eat. And she asks Larsa if her kids eat with their mouth open. She says no. Tamra said she'd smack hers in the back of the head if they did. So Tamra says that if she was a traitor, she'd absolutely poison Kevin. Tamra just can't seem to stop getting into like feuds with people over literally the
I
dumbest
know.
shit. She got
I
into a
know.
rivalry with John over the fact that he was having breathing problems, and
She's
now
so petty.
she's getting into a rivalry with Kevin because he eats with his mouth open. That's something that she's bothered by apparently, and
This
that
is
means he's
like
a
such
traitor.
this is the definition of reality and petty.
Oh yeah. So she says that he's so annoying, constantly eating with his mouth open. So yeah, that's something that we definitely focus a lot on in this episode. Ekin-Su says she's very good at sussing people out and catching people in a lie, and when they find who's gone, she will catch them out. Which again, everything Ekin-Su says here is so ironically funny, knowing the
Oh,
fact
yeah.
that like what's gonna happen. It was just a matter of when it was gonna happen. But
Oh, it's so
yeah, just a
ironic.
really, really great start overall. But go ahead and continue before we get to the mission here.
All right. So Larsa pulls Ekin-Su to Kevin and MJ aside and says she kind of feels like it's someone really strong and alpha that is leading the traitors. The people who are all being murdered are strong people, so she thinks it's someone very alpha.
Yeah, she really thinks she's doing something here. She really thinks like she
Poor
has it
woman.
clocked.
Poor
Oh,
girl.
it's got to be a man, even though there's literally nothing to track that. I mean, Lars is just really just throwing shit at the wall at this point and just seeing what sticks. I don't know what got in her head that it has to be a man, but like she's so insistent. She's so insistent in this throughout the entire episode. She just like basically loses the plot. Like, that's the best way to describe it. Larsa lost the plot this episode, and it was very funny to see, but it was also like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, what? How did
Mhm.
you come up with this ridiculous idea?
Yeah, literally. Larsa says she's coming into this game looking for allies, and she thinks she's better at being Destiny's Child than Beyonce, and she's trusting her housewives since they are in an industry where people are fake, and so she feels like they are good at sniffing those people out since that's what they do. Tamra tells Phaedra, John, and Peter Kevin is fully on her radar because he's just annoying as hell, and she's trying to think if it's just that or is there something more. Dan talks to Trishelle, Peter, and Janelle and asks if anyone offered chocolate or anything like them to either of them. And Trishelle says she remembers someone offered her wine when she walked in, but she can't remember who it was. Janelle throws out Ekin-Su as a possibility, and Trishelle says that she was very adamant about going for the traitors.
Yeah, the fact that they think it's Ekin-Su is like so funny. But it
Oh,
also like really worked out for the traders by making them think it was Ekin-Su.
oh, it's so funny. Janelle feels it's a tell when someone gets loud about it, and Trishelle agrees she is overreacting.
Yeah, I mean,
Over,
just
sorry,
again,
overacting.
so many just bad reads from the faithfuls here. It's so comical.
Oh yeah. Janelle says she's never trusted Ekin-Su because she's always seemed like an odd duck, getting very giddy and excited, and she really just sucks.
So everyone just really is disliking Ekin-Su at this point.
Janelle's so like blunt too. She's like,
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
she just sucks.
yeah.
Shereé asks Ekin-Su, Kevin, and Larsa who they think was poisoned, and Kevin says anyone who drank alcohol likely was. And Ekin-Su says
Sure,
she did.
yeah, we know Kevin. Like, it's obvious. Like, you got to give a little bit more than that.
I know. It's like he's just giving like "Go girl, give us nothing" vibes.
Yeah, he's really not good at this game at all.
Mm-mm. And Ekin-Su says she did, and Larsa says they all drank, and Kevin says he didn't, and Shereé says he ate all the food.
They're all coming for Kevin for like the dumbest reasons. I love it.
So I feel like he's another like collateral damage too.
No, I don't think he's collateral damage. I think he's just someone they think is consistently a traitor because he's just so bad at this game.
A few of the faithfuls are.
Yeah.
Kevin agrees he ate too much yesterday, and he ate so many hors d'oeuvres, and there's no way he didn't get poisoned last night. Ekin-Su
I thought that was a really funny confessional from him, talking about how it's like, yeah, I ate a lot. I definitely was poisoned. I just don't remember.
Ekin-Su says if she gets poisoned today, she loves them all. And they go outside and once again are suspicious of her.
Again, the fact they think it's her is so great.
It's amazing. Sandra says she's thirsty for blood and is a gamer, so when she does, it's usually to observe and pay attention to detail and try to figure out who is talking, clicking, and protecting who it's hard to find evidence because the traitors aren't slipping or messing up and they're running out of days.
Honestly, yeah, and I mean Sandra's doing so great.
I think Sandra's in one of the best positions because she's like completely like in the middle. She's just being very social and just like literally she's just getting information and just keeping it to herself. But I mean, or she tells like her allies, but she's like completely in the middle.
Yeah, even though she doesn't have the great, people have said this on Twitter. I kind of agree with it. I think she knows who the traitors are. I think she definitely is like recognizing that like it might be Dan, it might be Parvati, but I think that Sandra doesn't necessarily care because I think it benefits her. Like Sandra's in a great spot right now. Why would she want to throw out a traitor when, that is going to hurt her game, especially with the way things are going? It's not necessarily all about just getting out the traitors. It's also about how can I put myself in a great spot to where then I can just cut a traitor then and they won't even realize, they won't even see it coming.
Yeah, honestly, I could see Sandra at least making it to the end.
Oh, yeah. I think if Sandra makes it to the end and she's with the traitors, I mean, we're going to see her cut one of them, and it's going to be such epic television when that happens.
That'll be, like, could you imagine if she cuts Parvati?
Oh, my God.
After
she got her on her side? Oh, that'd be brutal.
Oh, I can see it, because she does what she does best.
Oh, yeah. She'll work her magic.
Oh, yeah. Parvati talks to Dan saying everyone is thinking Ekin-Su is a traitor and they will freak out when she's dead.
Yep.
Oh, I love them as a duo so much.
Yeah.
Dan says he doesn't think he can win this game alone and it's a little scary to trust the Black Widow and Parvati, but he thinks that's his choice.
Yep, and so pretty much solidifying like him and Parvati are a duo here, and again, really we see Dan just be his like cutthroat villainous self in this episode, and if he's able to pull off what he is planning here, oh my God, I cannot wait to see it. But go right ahead.
Oh yeah. He doesn't think he can win this game with Phaedra in the Traitors conclave. So what he's working on is a great plan to use Parvati to fake a shot at Phaedra when the time presents itself. Oh, so good.
Oh yeah, I mean this is such a great move for Dan, and we talked about how
he's like trying to get like them to go after each other, not him.
Well, we talked about how Phaedra is in like the best position right now and how I kind of felt like she was in such a strong spot that like people weren't going to see it. But I mean, we have to remember this is Dan and Parvati we're talking about. Like nothing
Mhm.
gets past them. They're going to
Oh,
have
yeah.
such great reads. They're going to be able to recognize like what's going on. So it was only a matter of time before they started to realize, oh, Phaedra's a legitimate threat to us and we can't possibly like keep working with her the entire game. So I think this is the right time to do it. I've seen people say Dan's taking the shot too early. He's not taking the shot now. He's suggesting to Parvati, we got to do this down the line, which is
Yeah.
good because then it solidifies to Parvati that like, I'm with you 100%, but I'm not as trusting towards Phaedra. And I think Phaedra needs to go. Like, I think this is really good. He's not saying she has to go yet, but he is saying like we do have to take that shot. So I don't think this was too early at all. I think this is what he needed to do. Dan knows that he's not in the greatest position right now. This is the perfect way to like kind of like draw suspicion off of him. Know that Parvati, she is in a pretty decent spot. So like let's get
Mhm.
Parvati on my side. Like I thought this was really great work from Dan all around.
Oh, it's so good. Like, he's just such a great strategist, so he,
Oh
like,
yeah.
really knows what to do and knows what to
Oh yeah.
say. He's just such a great talker. Like, obviously, he's not good.
He is especially great when his back is against the wall. Like, don't ever
Yeah,
doubt Dan when he
literally.
knows he's in a dire position. Like, that's when he's at his best. And this is like
Oh,
the
yeah.
perfect example of that.
Like, literally his best out of physical, social, and strategic. He's definitely one of the best strategists.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
He asked her if that may be draw more suspicion on Phaedra because she wrote down her name and she says it might, and he says he doesn't want to be the first to shoot, but they gotta give them some blood before it's either of them. She mentions the clique with the housewives is so insulated, and he says he doesn't want her to think he's being shady, but he's also thinking they will get caught, and she won't.
Yep. So yeah, just really crazy stuff all around. We'll talk about how that plays out, but we do have to get to the mission here, otherwise known as the funeral. Now, I will say, usually with these missions, we talk pretty briefly. This one is pretty integral. So I literally wrote down like everything that happened on this mission. I thought
Yes.
this one was just really great. Probably the best mission we've seen from the Traitors US so far. I really love this a lot, the way they ended up doing this, but
Oh, yeah.
basically, everyone steps outside in funeral attire. Alan tells them they're gathered here today to win money for the prize pot, but also to say goodbye to one of them. Today's mission will be a test of their detective skills. The task is so simple. Along the way, they're going to correctly identify who's been poisoned before they are buried. Then 20K will be added to the prize pot. En route, there's going to be a series of questions that will help them narrow down the possible victims. If they answer correctly, it will reveal a player that can take a seat on the glorious ceremonial carriage. But the more players they get before reaching the burial site, the better chance they have of identifying who has been poisoned. So since Janelle, Peter, and Tamra won a shield yesterday, they are the first to take their seats safely in the carriage. So they don't even get to participate in this mission. All
Yeah.
they get to do is pretty much just like observe.
They basically just get to observe and sit pretty.
Yeah. So Alan says the Traitors will know who's been poisoned, so they need to look out for some Emmy Award-worthy acting, and no, not by him. Great line all around.
So good. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I fucking love this mission. Just the idea that like each time you get closer and closer to like your death, basically, and you don't know if it's gonna be you. Like, my God, what a thrilling challenge! I
Oh,
loved
I know.
just the aesthetics of it all. Like, this is just I want to see more missions like this where it's like a
Oh,
lot more
please.
integral to what's going on and it doesn't just feel like something that's here to pad out the runtime. This is exactly what they need to do for the mission. So yeah, just give me more of this. I love this so much, the way they
Oh,
did
me
this.
too. I
So
love it.
Janelle says everyone says she's selfish, but now they're down sweating bullets and she's up there watching them. Tamra says this is how
So
she would
good.
want to die. The atmosphere is creepy as shit and she likes it. Parvati knows that she's the one responsible for poisoning Ekin and now has to walk in a funeral procession acting like she might die. Phaedra says she's always going to be thinking strategically to keep the heat off of her, but as a funeral director, she's feeling right at home because this is, of course, is her expertise. So again, another top tier confessional from Phaedra.
Yes.
So they then make
Also,
their way.
Phaedra is just such main character energy.
Oh yeah. So especially this episode. So they then make their way towards the first of 3 questions, which if correct will earn them an extra 20K to their prize pot. The first question is that the player that is safe is born in the same year as another player. MJ says she hates this question because she doesn't think her doctor or her husband even knows her age. I thought that was kind of a funny moment. So we get this moment where basically everyone's just raising their hands, trying to figure out what year each of them were born. Turns out to be Kevin and Dan, who were both born in 1983, and Sandra and Larsa, who were both born in 1974. This, of course, proves to be correct. We get this, of course, great confessional here of Sandra saying that she thought Larsa was actually like older than her. Everyone's been going around Twitter.
Yeah, again, she's like, she looks way older. Yeah, she's like, wait, she looks way older than me.
Yeah, I thought that was great. So Dan is relieved that he was removed from the carriage as quickly as possible. He's hoping that Parvati and Phaedra continue to do a great job at pretending. So the next question, sung by the very talented funeral choir, is about who's still in the funeral march Bananas trusted the most. They all immediately think that it has to be CT and Trishelle, since he has the most history with both of them. So it has to be the two of them. CT says if him and Trishelle aren't the right answer, Bananas deserve to die, and end of story. So Alan tells them that.
That was funny.
Yeah, that was great. CT is killing me. Like I'm really liking him so far.
He's great.
So Alan tells
honestly, like CT just gives like dark horse underdog vibes.
I think he's definitely making it to the end, just based on what we've seen. So Alan tells them that this is in fact correct. Ekin-Su is feeling a lot less confident at this point with the people going on the carriage. It's a bit of a downer, but at least she looks good in red lipstick. So Parvati says that she took a huge risk murdering Ekin in the first place, and now she's here putting herself in the zone method, acting as best as she can, and she really hopes that they're buying it. The last question is about who wore red during the Scarecrow competition. Ekin-Su immediately thinks that, oh my God, this is me. It has to be me. So Trishelle thinks that she's just overacting and being too over the top. This proves to be correct, which means it's down to Parvati, MJ, and Ekin-Su, which again, I have to say, such a terrible read again. Like a traitor would not act this over the top. A traitor would not be this obvious. Like, yes, Cody and Christian did this last season, but that was when they didn't have to. Like, a traitor's not going to be this obvious during this particular challenge. So again, I think the faithfuls are just, this really just speaks to them already having feelings about Ekin-Su and not feeling good about her. So just anything that she does, they're going to question at this point, it seems.
So funny.
Yeah. And I mean, this of course happens like when you're targeting somebody. It's one of those things where it's like, oh my God, did you see the way Ekin-Su wagged her finger? Did you see the way Ekin-Su ate that piece of toast? Like, oh my God, she's got to go. Like we see stuff like this happen all the time. So everyone in the carriage believes now it's going to be MJ based on how honest she's been and that she's a liability. Janelle feels that it wouldn't make sense to kill Ekin-Su because she's so useless to the competition and she's really just a messy game player, which that's exactly why you kill Ekin-Su, because she is just so useless. Like, she isn't somebody that anyone's going to care about if she was murdered. Like, that's exactly why you go for Ekin-Su here. So yes, it doesn't make sense, but that's why that's why that's the correct move. So Ekin-Su thinks that it's easy to target someone like her because she's so charming, glamorous, and confident. She thinks people can see it as a threat, including the traitors. So the three remaining players walk towards a graveyard. Alan tells them to enter their coffin. Parvati says that she's feeling completely exposed. Her acting has to be so good. If she's exposed, she's done. And Parvati's, it's literally down to her, Ekin-Su, and MJ. I love the way they did this. They literally have them go into their coffin as if they're about to be buried. So MJ talks about how this is her worst nightmare. It's her phobia getting into a coffin. Ekin-Su says she's getting really scared. She's struggling to breathe. Parvati says she wants to make it look like she's looking for sympathy and just having a moment of sheer terror. So Alan tells them, the remaining players, that the ones that have been safe from murder must each take one of the black roses into the coffin of the player they think has been poisoned. Whoever has the most roses in the end is the group's final choice. And if it's correct, that's going to add 20K to the prize pot. But of course, if it's wrong, they get nothing, which up to this point, that doesn't mean much. Every time you get to the prize pot, they usually end up winning it. But we'll talk about what happens this time around, because at this point, they all believe that it's MJ because of how much she has her own mind, which again, just such a stupid move. Like, why would the traitors go for MJ here?
Yeah, literally.
This turns out to be Ron. It is, of course, Ekin-Su. For the first time, I think, in the entire show, they don't earn the money here. They lost $20,000 by thinking it was MJ, so they're all in utter shock and disbelief. Tamra feels that they are all being punked and doesn't understand why they would punish Ekin-Su, since she likely would have been banished. Peter's now thinking MJ may be a traitor because it's got to be her, and if she didn't get murdered earlier because nothing else makes sense, which, I mean, this literally makes no sense. Like, oh, yeah, honestly, sure, like, she didn't get murdered. She has to be a traitor. Like,
I don't think Peter is not very good at the game either.
No, I think Peter is. I think he just has bad reads. Like, I think he has.
Yeah, that's what it is. His bad reads.
Like, I think his reads are really bad, but I do think he at least is like playing really hard, and he's in a good spot, and that's exactly why the traitors need to fucking murder him, because he's not somebody that anyone suspects. So Peter says them that he really liked Ekin-Su, but she was an amazing shield to hide behind, took a lot of heat, but the traitors are cutthroat and took away $20K on purpose. They're willing to do anything else to stick with their vote. Dan says that this poisoning has thrown everyone off the scent. There's no good reason why Ekin-Su could be murdered. So it's probably the traitors' best murder so far because it's caused confusion. Exactly. That's why you needed Ekin-Su to be murdered here. I guess we'll talk about Ekin-Su a little bit. I really liked her for the time we did have her. I thought she was a really fun character to watch. She was just so unpredictable and cracked, and you never really knew what she was going to do. And I feel like that's why she was really fun to watch. But I do think that, like, she was someone that, like, absolutely needed to be murdered at some point. Definitely was someone that needed to be taken out, because I think she would have been the Kate of this season, where she's just constantly getting accused, and the traitors just constantly think it's her, and they they keep throwing it onto her. Like, I think that would have been Ekin-Su this season. So I think it made sense to just dispose of her now.
Yeah, like, I really liked her. She was very fun, very entertaining to watch. And she was so, like, she had like the ditzy vibes, but she was like adorable. But yeah, it was definitely a good move here, because obviously it does cause confusion and like just unpredictability. Like, like, obviously it sucks we lost her early, but I mean, it was a great move. But I really enjoyed her for the few episodes we got her in, and I'd love to see her come back. That would be really cool. And I'd love to watch her season of Love Island and things like that, because she's just very fun.
Yeah, generally, I really did like her for the time we had her here. But yeah, and again, like I said, just a great challenge overall. Like, I really love this challenge. I want to see more stuff like this. This is exactly the kind of mission I think they need to be doing more of. Give me less of like just like random stuff. Like, what was the one they did last season where they were like in like a house and like they had to do this whole elaborate thing? Don't give me stuff like that. Give me more stuff like this, where it actually feels like integral to the episode. And it really just, and it keeps the momentum going. It's way more exciting. You actually care about them winning the prize pot. The fact they don't win the money this time around, it just makes it so much more fun to watch. So honestly, again, like, more of this.
The main like comp I liked last season was the touchy subjects one.
Yeah.
But yeah, this season, like, just please give us more comps like this, because it's so fun to watch and very exciting, and it's actually like very important for the game as well.
Yeah. So with that said, let's talk about everything that happens before the roundtable here, because I mean, people are already like really just like kind of going off of nothing here, but I mean, there's some people who just like really go off the rails after this. So just get into it.
So everyone is trying to pinpoint why Ekin would be murdered, and Dan asks why anyone would want to get rid of her.
Exactly, which again, just great way of just completely throwing suspicion off of you. Like, I think Dan does a really good job with that in this episode.
Oh yeah, he does such a great job.
Oh yeah.
Larsa talks to Shereé and Tamra and says she thinks there's a lot of maybes, but when they think of who's making the strong moves, it's got to be a man.
Sure. Yeah, we're still going off of this, which doesn't make any sense.
Sandra says her strategy at this point is to continue to be the housewife's best friend, making sure she's good with everyone, and Larsa runs the housewives, but she also has a big mouth and is very blunt and gets under her skin.
Yeah, I mean, again, just really great work from Sandra here, perfectly positioning herself in the middle. Yes. Nobody's going to realize that she's the one that like betrayed the house, because I mean, spoilers, she does betray the housewives here, but like nobody's going to realize that she does do it. And I thought this was just such great work from her.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Larsa asks them if they're all just going to go to the round table and listen. Janelle goes to Bergie, Kevin, and Parvati and asks him what he's saying, and he says he's not saying anything at the round table. There's a lot of suspicion, so he's just going to listen to everyone tonight. Janelle asks Parvati who she thinks it is, and she throws out Larsa.
Yeah, immediately Parvati's just like, we gotta go for Larsa here.
Parvati says there's a lot of disruption going on, so this is the perfect time to come in and sow some seeds to get someone out.
Exactly.
She brings up to them and that the only reason someone would not murder MJ is if they are working with her or think she has their back. She's also thought about performing since she does that every day on Housewives, and Kevin thinks this makes the most sense from what he's been seeing.
Yep.
Janelle thinks about a clue that was said at the breakfast about them eating or drinking something, and that Larsa stood up at the table and toasted DeMarcus.
Yeah, and I mean, this is such great work from Parvati, the way she just throws the scent on Larsa. And then you have like Janelle, who comes with this ridiculous theory that, oh, because she toasted DeMarcus, that means that she's a traitor. It's so good. It's so good. Like, you can't make this up.
Oh, it's so funny. It's so good. Like, it's such great work from her.
Oh, yeah.
Janelle says she is definitely leaning towards voting for Larsa since she has been manipulating the housewives, and the faithfuls really need to band together instead of listening to what the traitors will tell them.
Even though you literally are doing that, but yes. Like, you literally are listening to a traitor here.
She's literally just, like, doing their dirty work.
Which, again, great work from Parv. Great work from Parv.
Yeah, definitely. This is basically all Parvati.
Oh, yeah.
Meanwhile, the housewives are very much set on voting for a man tonight, thinking there are 4 traitors, 2 men, and 2 women.
Yeah, sure, there's 4 of them. That's definitely the case.
Shereé says Larsa is a lady. Shereé says Larsa is a lady and is very classy, but she can hold her own against anyone because she is coming in hot.
And can I just say, Shereé also terrible at this game. Like, so bad at this game.
Honestly, all she really does, like, she's like her as a person, but, like, all she ever does is just call people out.
But she's such a hypocrite because she's like, oh my god, guys, let's get it right. Meanwhile, she's voted incorrectly every single time.
She's so bad. They each go over to the board and start looking at all of the guys to narrow it down, and they think it's between Dan and CT.
When they did this, I was literally like, what are we doing? Like, you're literally just looking at the board at all the guys. All it takes is for one of the guys to come in and be like, is something wrong? Like,
that'd be so funny if that happened. I would have laughed so hard.
It's just like the thing is, like, when you do something like this, and I think this really is speaking to the fact that, like, these housewives have never played these kind of games before. So, like, they don't really know how to be, like, secretive. But, like, you can't make it so obvious. You have to do this in a way that is secretive. You only, you know, you meet up at certain times. You only, you know, talk to certain people. You try to recommend certain people, you know, to work with and things like that. This type of strategy does not work. Like, this is not the way. If you're going to do something like this, you got to be so much more careful with how you do it. And they're not even trying at this point. They're making it so obvious. And it's just so funny to watch.
Oh, it's so funny.
Especially with, like, how certain, like, Larsa is that, no, it is a man. It's Dan and CT. It's got to be one of them.
Kills me. Sandra says her and CT are both gamers, and she is loyal to them to a fault, so she can't allow this to happen. Sandra goes right to Dan and CT and tells them the vote is between them, and Larsa has decided to go for CT because he is the bigger alpha male, and she thinks the other side wants Larsa, so if they do, and Larsa wants CT, it's between those 2 right now.
I will be right back. You can talk about this, but I just gotta take care of something real quick.
Oh, okay. Oh my god, I was so happy. It was so funny when Sandra, like, went right to Dan and CT and told them, like, see, this is what she does best. She's, like, staying, like, besties with the housewives, but she's, like, more loyal to the gamers, so she goes right to them and rats them out. And so good. It's just, like, amazing. And, like, Sandra's just playing the middle. She's literally just, like, killing it right now. Like, no one's targeting her, which is iconic. And yeah, like, this is why she won Survivor twice. Like, she's such a queen. And then I'll just wait to continue when he's back. Oh, I only have one more line, and then and then Kevin's gonna be doing the round table. But I'll continue when he's back. So I hope you guys are enjoying this. It's such an episode, such a great episode. Oh my god. I'm so happy. And this season is just it's chef's kiss so far. It's literally just gold, and it's a real treat. Everyone should check it out. It's fantastic. And I'm honestly so excited to watch Canada, but we'll probably watch it before the next season. And then obviously I'm excited to watch like the others as well. It's just so good. Kevin will be back shortly. Oh, there he is.
Okay, yeah. I mean, this is absolutely insane at this point. Like, just the fact they're like so sure that it's CT. Like, I just
so
can't.
Good. Oh, it's so funny, and I just love like literally, like I said, like Sandra does what she does best. She goes right to her allies and like rats the girls out.
Yep. I mean, this is really like, and this puts her in an even better position because it's like now the housewives trust her, but now she also has like the gamers on her side, which is what she truly is. And it really does seem like by the end of this episode, she is most loyal to that side. Like she's only really with the housewives because she knows they're in a good position. Yeah. So this really is like a top tier strategy of like, I just went where the power is. Like I think she's doing that really well.
She's playing double agent.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So Larsa walks right by CT and tells him she's worried about him.
Yep.
And then we get into the round table, which Kevin's going to talk about.
Oh my god. Yeah. What another just incredible roundtable all around. Where do we even begin with this one? Because Larsa says that she's over all the lies. She doesn't want to dilly-dally anymore and not point the finger anymore at the person that she believes is a traitor. Parvati says that her strategy tonight is to break the housewives up and go for Larsa, but also no one is thinking about Phaedra, and she just wants people to know if there are 4 housewives in this game, one of them has to be the traitor. So at the round table, we see Janelle immediately starts off by saying they need to go on someone that was poisoned, either ate or drink something. And again, the fact that she is so insistent that like, oh, it has to be like breakfast, even though like Alan literally said last night someone was murdered. He didn't say earlier in the day. He said last night. But apparently that just like they forgot about that. So she brings up what Larsa did at breakfast yesterday and that Larsa said cheers to him and that maybe because she drank someone drank something that was poisoned. So basically, yeah, I mean, this is what I'm talking like. It's so stupid, but I love it.
It's so stupid and petty, but it's hilarious.
Oh, yeah. So Larsa deflects by saying that she toasted to everyone, and Janelle says that she thinks it was weird, and Larsa does not help her do herself any favors here. She basically gives her like a middle school insult where she's like, "Oh, well, you're weird, you're selfish, your face is like it's like your face is weird. Like it's just this is not good at all."
It's so bad.
She asked if she ever thinks she
does not help herself.
No. She asked if she ever thinks she would murder her own boyfriend. Peter says no one would suspect her murdering Marcus, so it's brilliant to do if she was a traitor, which, yeah, I mean, I agree with that. Like, if I'm suspicious of Larsa, I absolutely think she's capable of murdering Marcus, because why would she murder Marcus? Nobody would suspect her to do that. So it's a really good strategy to do something like that. So Larsa says that all the guys that have been murdered are big guys they need, and they need to look at the profile, which you don't technically need any of them. These challenges haven't all been overly physical. The challenge you literally just did was not a physical challenge. So, like, again, this makes no sense. Like, yes, some of the challenges are physical, but not all of them are. So they need to look at the profile. It's another big guy that's murdering these people is doing it because he doesn't need them. And CT asks why it needs to be him. So CT can't catch a break at these round tables.
Poor guy.
He's being accused of being a traitor. And Larsa said it's because he's an alpha male and she feels like he's the biggest one at the table. Peter asked why they would take Ekin-Su out, and Larsa said it's because they didn't need her. And she says to CT that she literally thinks he's capable of being a traitor 1,000%. And she knows that he's an actor and he's good at it because he had her fooled, and she thinks that he's the head of the snake. So CT thinks that, you're just giving me too much credit at this point. She knows that he is, because when he stands over there, he will say he's a traitor and they will all see it. And he says he's faithful through and through. I think for Larsa, in my opinion, like, what she really needed to do to save herself is not pitch this alpha male thing, because when you do that, it's basically making all the guys now come onto your radar. Like,
that was like such a bad move for her. Like, she really shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, I think especially like having all the guys go out one by one, the guys saying that like they already weren't okay with this, that they wanted to be a woman, like this was not good for Larsa. Like, she needed to recognize, like, kind of read the room and recognize, like, I think the person she needed to go after, yes, she can go after CT, but she needed to not push the alpha male thing. I think what she needed to push was, like, I think if she had said, like, you wouldn't murder bananas and nobody thinks that you would do that. So, like, I think that would have been a good defense. Like, I think her going on about this alpha male thing, it's something she really needed to keep between her and the housewives. And the fact that she didn't was not good. So,
yeah, if she kept quiet about that, she could have done a little better.
Yeah. So she says that she knows that he's an actor, which I did not know. CT has literally been in a movie, which is crazy. But yeah, he's literally like an actor. So he says he's good at it. And because he had her fooled, she thinks he's the head of the snake. So, So basically, CT says that she's giving him too much credit. She knows that he is, because when he stands over them, he will say he's I just read that. So Kevin, again, really just hurts himself here. Really bad at these round tables. He says he doesn't like this strongman alpha theory. That doesn't make sense to him. MJ says it would fit if it were him, and he asks why. She says it's because he would consider himself threatened by the guys. They were murdered. And he asks why she would ever think he feels so insecure that he would feel threatened by another man. And he says if he were a traitor, he'd get rid of her first because he finds her highly annoying. That's literally his only reason.
Fun. Him saying MJ was annoying was really funny.
Yeah. So Tamra talks about, again, just really pushing Kevin here. He talks about when Kevin was at the burial, he just overacted, and it just didn't look real to her. She felt like his acting was fake, and it didn't make sense. So she says she knows he's an actor, but he has the capacity to pull off this part as actors, and she thinks housewives as well, because they get scripts. And Larsa asks if, I forgot to say, Parvati brings up this too, saying the performance aspect has been on her mind for a while because she knows that he's an actor, but who has the capacity to pull off this part is actors. And she thinks housewives as well, because they get scripts. And Larsa asks if she's looking at her like she murdered her boyfriend and closest friends. And Parvati says it's a possibility. And she says they don't act like they live their lives. Parvati says the performance as well. And who does this piss off? Phaedra really gets angry at this and says that, she tells her, don't come for the housewives. They are not a game. And Parvati says it does appear to tell her the way they gather and walk around the house. So CT is vouching for her, saying that there was a suspicion going around that they were all sticking together and that the majority of them are traitors. Phaedra says the only person she's worked with in this room is Tamra and Shereé, who are literally housewives, but sure. She says everyone else is a stranger. They're not killing anyone, so don't build the housewives thing. She has this great line where she's like, don't build the housewives things. Don't do it Parvati, but calls her like poverty. I thought that was great.
Oh, yeah, that was pretty funny.
So Ellen then tells them the time for talk is over. So again, you really just have everyone going after each other here.
I love how like quiet Dan was. He was just so like observant, and he was just like vibing, chilling.
Yeah, and I mean, I really give that credit to Sandra. She could have easily told Dan like, "Oh, it's your name is out there," but she doesn't tell him that because she knows that if he finds out his name is out there, like, he's gonna get really like defensive. He might end up saying the wrong thing. He might do the wrong thing. So I think it was good to push this idea that like Larsa's coming for CT, because it really helps Dan, where it's like she could have if she wanted Dan to go, push against it and say, well, Dan, I think, is a bigger threat. But I think, again, she's holding on to that information. Like, I think Sandra definitely knows that it's Dan, but she's really just kind of holding on to it to put herself in that better of a position, and it's really working out for her. So, yeah. So Phaedra is livid with Parvati at this point because she's bringing heat her way. She will not tolerate bad behavior in the round table, which I get it. Phaedra is working with the housewives and things like that, but it's not like Parvati specifically accused her. She just said the housewives. And I think Phaedra could have just kind of gone with that. So, like, I understand why Phaedra's mad here, but I think she needed to not do it so publicly because I think people are now going to be even more worried about the housewives now that, like, she's saying that. Like, you can say, oh, we're not together, we're not together, we're not working together. But I've said this so many times, like, when you say you're not working with somebody, it just gives you further incentive to work with them. And all this is doing is like bringing the housewives like closer together. So yeah, really not the greatest move. I think really on either of their parts. I think Parvati needed to go about this a little bit differently than she did, but I also think Phaedra needed to not get involved in the way that she did. So it was very entertaining to watch, but I don't think either of them handled this great.
No, they didn't, because like they could have just like were a little more like on the calmer side.
Yeah. I mean, I think Parvati should have not brought up the housewives thing. I think she needed to bring up Larsa specifically. So
definitely.
Kevin says he's feeling very worried for his life tonight because it could be anyone at this point. So it's then time to reveal the votes. And once again, I mean, it's a fucking mess. Like, this vote is just absolutely insane.
It's
Dan
wild.
goes first. He went with Larsa, says he's sorry if he's wrong. Tamra goes next and went with Kevin because there's just something about him that she just doesn't 100% trust. CT then goes next, says he's not 100% sure Larsa, but if she's going to keep coming after him, thinking he's something he's not, he's going to have to do something to protect himself. So Shereé goes next. She voted for John, like, for the dumbest reason. She says, oh, I don't think you're a traitor, but I need more time because I don't think Larsa's a traitor, but there's a lot of gamers here and they're playing very well. Like,
what?
If you want CT to go, vote CT. Like, I don't understand her reasoning for voting for John here. Like,
she's such a bad player. Dumb. Yeah. Like, honestly, John was kind of purpled this episode. Like, he was just there vibing.
I mean, he was so unbothered. Like, that's the thing. Like, he didn't really need much to do here. Like, there wasn't anything really going on with him. He wasn't really put into the limelight or anything. Like,
John's just like, don't come for the British man.
And John's probably the worst person to vote for right now because he's the one person that, like, he's not on anyone's radar right now. Like, nobody's suspicious of him. Don't go for a John. Don't go for a Bergie. All this does, again, is just make Shereé and the housewives target so much bigger. Like, this was really bad. I don't know what Shereé was thinking. So Bergie goes next, went for Larsa, thing he was given an ultimatum between her and CT, and he felt like he trusts CT more, so he went with that. So yeah, MJ is next and went with Kevin because he just got really defensive. So again, not great for Kevin here.
Honestly, MJ is such a bad player too.
Yeah. Phaedra goes next and voted for Kevin, not having a lot of evidence except him coming up as a great actor. I did want to mention there is a rumor going around that Phaedra and CT are maybe dating right now, which like is cool because like we kind of predicted that might happen.
I mean, she does have a crush on him, which she said.
Yeah.
So I mean, if they're dating, good for them.
Yeah, but it's also like it makes sense why she's not going to vote for CT here because she trusts CT. But like I was like, oh my god, Kevin's going to go here. Like I really thought maybe this would be Kevin. So, Sandra goes next, voted for Larsa, saying that she displays traitorous behavior in a way that she creates chaos with the information and everything she says. Peter goes next, votes for MJ, saying that she should have been murdered, and that is what he's going off of, which again makes no sense. Because you were murdered, you have to be a traitor. Like, yeah, that's totally totally how it works.
Peter and Shereé's votes made no sense.
Yeah. So John is next, goes for Kevin, saying he came to the conclusion he's an immensely capable guy, but is acting a part. So Janelle's next, one for Larsa, and then Larsa's next obviously goes for CT, just based on all the bodies and not a friend of a friend. Parvati's next, went for Larsa, much to dismay of Phaedra. Kevin is next and went for Larsa, says if anyone could ring lead, it's her. For that, he believes that she's a traitor. Trishelle is last and then goes for Larsa, saying that she doesn't like this vote at all, which again, like, if you don't think it's Larsa, why did you vote Larsa? Like, if you don't like the vote anywhere else, Trishelle. Like, this doesn't make any sense.
Trishelle is just so bad at the game.
Yeah, she really is, which is fine because she can go whenever. I don't like her.
Yeah,
So
I honestly kind of just hope she's like one of the murderers.
Yeah. So once again, in a vote that's insane, it's literally 8-4 to 1 to 1 to 1. Larsa has officially been banished. Therefore, she must reveal if she's a faithful or a traitor. She says she hopes they all switch directions because they're totally off and lost, and she has been a faithful from day one. So once again, she's not a traitor. Shereé then calls out like all the fake reactions, and I'm just sitting here like, Shereé, you literally just voted John. Like, you have no room to speak right now.
Honestly,
no room to speak.
Yeah,
like,
literally.
You didn't even vote majority. Like, this is so bad. So
Shereé's just doing what she does best, call people out, even though she votes incorrectly.
Yeah. So Trishelle tells her that she didn't like her vote. Shereé then asks why she voted that way. MJ asks now what they all think. Shereé says they're all being played by the gamers. And Tamra says the housewives need to stick together, even though they've literally just been clocked. Sure, that's a great idea. Just continue to put the target on your back.
Girl, what are you doing?
And it also like fully draws a line in the sand now. We're like, this is like a completely split, split house, split, well, not house, but split, it's a split castle now where you got like the housewives on one side, you got the gamers on the other side. And then it seems like you got people like a John, like pretty much like dead set in the middle. So, it's really interesting to see like how this is going to play out moving forward. But, Tamra says that Parvati threw something out there about the housewives banding together, and she's on to her now. Phaedra tells Sandra and Dan she wanted to vote for Parvati, but she didn't want it to just be her voting, but she needs to not do that because it's not cool. So Phaedra makes no secret that, like, she's angry at Parvati here. She wants to go for her. Phaedra doesn't know if Parvati's actually thinking because what she's doing is actually putting her under suspicion with her and wild accusations about housewives. She doesn't need this type of heat off of her. So we'll talk about this in a little bit. Don't you worry.
Oh my God, right?
So Shereé pitches to Kevin and John that the gamers are playing the shit out of all of them. They've clicked up, and Phaedra agrees since none of them play games. Shereé says they really need to focus on some of the gamers, and they're trying to get Kevin on their side. I don't think they're going to be successful because, I mean, you literally just tried to vote out Kevin, like most of you did. So why is Kevin going to be inclined to work with you here? Like, this doesn't make any sense. So,
like, I don't think it's going to work.
No, I think Kevin is probably the person that's most likely to get murdered next, but I don't think he's going to work with the housewives. Like,
I could also see, like, them murdering like a Trishelle because like if they want CT on their side, like I can see them trying to like get him closer to them and get over Trishelle.
Maybe we'll see. I think they're still going to be insistent on CT, but we'll see.
We'll see.
So Shereé says the gamers really want to break up what they consider a Bravo or Housewives clique. They're doing a good job because people are drinking the Kool-Aid, which, I mean, you literally were just doing that with Larsa, but sure.
Sure, why not?
CT talks to Trishelle saying the focus is going to be on the housewives because everyone's going to be looking at them and everyone should be looked at. And she says that it has to be someone in that Bravo group because it's a housewife for sure. And maybe the majority of the traitors are non-competitive reality show people, and that's why they keep getting picked off. She asks who he trusts and says she doesn't think he's a traitor at all, and he agrees. So it really does seem like these two are going to stick the closest together. Trishelle says that her and CT's relationship coming into the game was pretty complicated. They did a challenge together, and she did not like being in the house with a bunch of huge alpha male guys. But she thinks that he's changed a lot. He's a dad now and a great guy. And she's starting to think maybe she can actually trust him. And he's the only person she maybe feels comfortable around sharing real information with. So, yeah, I mean, it seems like Trishelle and CT pretty much on each other's side at this point.
Yeah.
This really does make me think CT goes farther than Trishelle because mainly all of Trishelle's arc has been her talking about how much, she either doesn't like somebody or she trusts other people. So I really just don't see Trishelle going all that much farther at this point. I don't know when she's going to go, but I do think she's going to go soon. So
Yeah, I
we'll
don't
see.
think I feel like
Um,
I honestly could see Trishelle being a murder because like
yeah.
yeah, just based on like her also not getting a huge edit. Just well, this was actually like a good like confessional from her, but like
Yeah.
she doesn't have like a huge edit. I could see her being
No.
murdered.
Yeah, so we get this moment where Dan talks to Parvati, Sandra, and Janelle that they need
Oh,
to be
so good.
careful about these battle lines being drawn between shows because it's going to be a problem, and Sandra agrees it's going to get ugly. So again, the
Oh,
line is
I love them
fully
working
drawn in the
together.
sand. We fully have this alliance now, which, oh my god, just top tier alliance here. Like Dan,
Yep.
Parvati, Sandra, and Janelle. Like,
Oh
can
my
we just
god, if
talk
they
about that? Like, that's insane.
honestly, if Sandra and Janelle became traitors, oh, I would die.
I mean, if they get a chance to recruit somebody, I have to imagine it's one of them. Like, I have to
Yeah.
imagine it's going to be a Sandra or Janelle. Dan has
Mhm.
been actively looking out for Janelle in this game. Like,
Oh yeah.
it's got to be one of them.
Mhm.
So,
Yep. And also
anyway,
I love Dan like sticking with the women, mostly it's like Parv and Janelle.
I mean, he kind of has to. Like, they're the ones that are vouching for him at this point. So,
Yep.
I think he kind of has to work with them. But yeah, let's just get to the absolutely insane way this episode wraps up.
Ah, so good. So getting into the traitors, Tourette or Turret. So I always say
Turret,
Tourette.
turret. It's turret.
Turret, yeah. Parvati says Phaedra acted like she's mad at her, so it's possible. She does feel threatened, so I'll just put this again because but she does feel threatened, but also could be an act. She also thinks it would be great to burn a traitor because it takes a little bit of the suspicion away from her, and it would be great if Phaedra is exposed because she's a traitor no one suspects.
Yeah, and I didn't know what Phaedra was going to do here. I really thought Phaedra was going to come into this and be like, I get it, guys. It wasn't me. Like, let's try and move forward. That is not what Phaedra does at all.
Mm-hmm. She just comes blazing at her.
Oh, yeah.
They all meet, and Phaedra straight up tells Parvati what she did wasn't cool, and for her to go in there to try to throw her under the bus, and Dan asks what happened, and
Which I love that Dan's like, what are we talking about? As if he didn't, like, plan this whole thing.
I know. He's just pretending to be all clueless when he had planned it.
Oh, yeah.
And Phaedra says when they do stuff, it brings attention to her, that they're working together and they are on a show, and she says no one likes her, and everyone says, she literally bluntly says no one likes her.
Yep.
And everyone says she's a traitor. They can be in this game together, but she's going to play fair. And if she doesn't, she will have more problems than the faithfuls. And she's playing very fair with her. So don't do that to her. And that goes for the both of them. And while she's doing this, Parvati keeps trying to speak, but she doesn't let her get a word in edgewise.
Yeah. What did you think about this whole thing?
Oh my god. It was like so spicy, which makes me
Yeah.
think it's probably going to be like Parvati versus Phaedra next round. Like
I think so, but with this, the good thing about this, because at first I thought, oh, this is really bad for Phaedra. Why are you so publicly doing this? But then I really started to think, no, this is good for Phaedra because Phaedra can basically just murder whoever she wants, and Dan and Parvati aren't going to get a say. Because after this, like, why would you want to argue with Phaedra? Like, you're just going to let her do what she wants at this point. Like, this fully gives her the opportunity to make sure whoever she wants murdered, just murder them. So this really does make me think this could be like a Kevin, a Trishelle, help, CT could go. Like, I could see it being someone from their side because she just wants to,
I don't know why, like, out of the three traitors, remember when we thought Phaedra was going to go the farthest? I don't know.
Yeah.
I could see Phaedra leaving soon. Well, not yet.
I don't
but,
know
like,
at this point. Like, it's
not,
really...
maybe, we'll see. But, like, I can see her leaving maybe first at this point.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. I do still think out of the three, it's going to be Dan. Just because, like, just the way it's been, it very much is like, I trust Parvati a lot. I need Phaedra out. I feel like it's going to be one of those things where, like, he tries to go for Phaedra and it fails. Or I think if Phaedra really wants Parvati, like, to, like, as a warning to Parvati, I think she does go for Dan. I can absolutely see Phaedra doing that. So, because I think
I don't
she's
see Parv.
the one.
I don't see Parv turning on Dan though.
No, I don't think Parvati would, but I think that Phaedra would try to orchestrate like Dan going. But we'll see.
Yeah, we shall see. Because I can also see like them talking, like the housewives talking with like Sandra about it, but I can see Sandra literally going to Dan and telling them.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I think as long as Sandra's there, like Dan's fine, but we'll see.
Yeah, because Sandra's kind of like one of the people he needs.
Sandra and Janelle, they're like
Yeah.
actively like, because I think Janelle also knows that Dan's a traitor, but is like kind of keeping that to herself. So
Yeah, exactly. Because she wants to keep him around.
yeah.
So Phaedra says what Parvati did tonight was unacceptable and she will not tolerate it at all.
Yeah. Now I
And
saw
that's
some
how it
people say
ends.
this. Mhm.
And that's how the episode ends.
Yeah, now I saw some people say they think that Parvati does say something to Phaedra. I'm sure she does. Maybe the edit was just trying to hide it. But I
Probably.
did really like the way they did this, where it seemed like she was just kind of talking over her and not letting her speak.
I
So I'm very excited
know.
to see like how this plays out.
I'm so
I do.
excited.
The one thing I do want to talk about to you is, who do you think gets murdered next? What do you think happens?
Mm, I mean, I could see it being Kevin.
No, I think I don't think Kevin gets murdered. I think he's gonna get banished.
Actually, yeah. I mean, I could see it being CT, but I could also seeing it being maybe a Trishelle,
Yeah.
maybe a Tamra.
No, this is the opportunity you go for
No.
Peter. Like, you absolutely go
Ooh,
for
yeah.
Peter
I
here,
could see Peter
because
too. Peter, because
nobody's
Peter's
suspicious
someone.
of him. You go for a Peter as much as it hurts.
Yeah.
Go for John. Go for one of them. Like,
Yeah. I could see it being
incentivize.
Peter.
Yeah, I think it's probably gonna end up being Peter, but we'll see. I could
Mhm.
also see Bergie, because Bergie's had nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, literally, Bergie is such a nothing like player, so it could just be
Yeah.
him as like a let's just go for him because he doesn't do much.
Yeah, so I think it's Peter or Bergie, but we'll see. All right, so let's get into Uncloaked here, because there was a lot of interesting stuff, I thought,
Yeah.
in this particular episode.
Oh, it was really good.
So Parvati talks about how she actually did want to give the chalice to MJ or somebody else, but the time was ticking and she was running out of it. She had a rusty old cup that looked nothing like the other glasses that people were drinking out of, and she didn't think anyone else would drink out of her cup. So due to her great relationship with Ekin, she felt it was her only option and the only one willing to drink out of it. She wasn't expecting it to work out so well for the Traitors. Phaedra hated that Parvati could only trick Ekin into drinking the poison chalice, but she couldn't change the decision once it was made, and it is what it is. And I mean, I agree with Parvati. I think this absolutely made the most sense. Her and Ekin were close. Ekin is gonna trust Parvati, so why not just poison Ekin? Like, it made the most sense.
It just made the more sense move.
Yeah. So Ekin felt the poison figuratively once Alan mentioned it. She felt the traitors were on her since the whole discussion because of her speaking up the previous night. She didn't have a smart game plan, but she just wanted to be herself and shock people with her intelligence. She felt that no matter what she did, she was going to get accused, and everyone was being two-faced. Things can't always be strategized that are out of your control. Sometimes you just need to be yourself, and if it works, it works. But if it doesn't, you just kind of have to go with it. This game has actually made her grow as a person. And Dan says that when Ekin-Su said anything with her accent, it was pretty believable and was smarter than people really gave her credit for. So yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, Ekin-Su is somebody that I think absolutely was going to go at some point, but I also think she could have maybe been like a Kate, where she always had people sticking up for her, and because of that, she was never able to go, and she makes it all the way to the end. Like, I think that's what could have happened. So
that could have happened for sure.
Yeah. So Parvati says that she had to go for Larsa. She was on to her from the second the masks were lifted off, and she couldn't have her attacking in the house anymore, which is true. Larsa's been on Parvati's ass literally since the beginning. Yep. So she feels that she was a real threat due to her powerful voice. People listen to her and her opinion, and they wanted her in to like and approve of them. So she had the capacity to bring people in and point them in a certain direction, and she was pointing them towards her, and she just couldn't have it anymore. So yeah, that's really, I mean, again, this makes the most sense why Larsa had to go. She was just actively gunning for Parvati. She probably eventually would have figured it out. I mean, I don't know if Larsa would have, just based on how bad her reads were and just how off the rails she was. But I do think it made the most sense for Parvati to do this.
Definitely.
So Dan says that he knew Larsa was onto him, but he doesn't know what she had against Parvati, if it was a personality thing or something else. But it really just didn't make sense to him at all. But it did make sense why she was so suspect of him. But sometimes personality traits are enough to make people suspicious. He thinks people got sick of Larsa throwing out random names with no other reason than just the fact that she felt like it, which, yeah, I mean, that was really bad. So he feels that she could have lasted a lot longer in this game if she kept some opinions to herself, because everyone knew about it right away, whether it made sense or not. So, yeah, again, Larsa really just kind of went off the rails here. Phaedra says a lot of this game is about personality traits. She was very suspicious of Parvati, which a lot of them were, and she guesses it was just a vibe. So Larsa definitely had suspicions right off the bat. She thinks she got banished because she's a real pit bull on her. She's on her network, but she's never met her until being here. But she completely enjoyed her company. They had some great conversations, and she would have appreciated her being in the house a little bit longer. And then we go to Larsa, who I will say I was impressed by some of the things that Larsa said here. Some of the things she said since then, not so much, but she says that she straight up doesn't care about Parvati. She gave her a nickname of Snow White because she would just sneak into every room without ever saying hello, just
Those
creep
two
in
are
and
probably,
listen.
I don't think they're going to be friends at all.
Oh no, I don't see them getting along.
And
She initially thought
I don't see Larsa and Janelle being friends either.
no. She says she initially thought when she got to the castle, she was just going to be a sponge, just taking information, literally the same exact advice same exact pitch that Marcus had. They both wanted to play the same type of game. Not necessarily sharing so much started off like that, but once her boyfriend was murdered and Ekin-Su, who she saw as a little sister, was poisoned. I don't think we got to see that like at all in the show, but apparently that's how she felt about her. She says she felt she had to speak up and do something drastic and say her piece, and felt people who she felt and who she thought was a traitor. She thinks the moment things turned against her was because MJ wasn't poisoned. And when Marcus was first murdered, they thought she couldn't have murdered him. But once he was gone, they thought she'd be the perfect person for them to go unnoticed. Her personality starts off nice, and she can't help if she gets passionate, getting loud and talking fast and trying to remain calm, but having too much anxiety. And she feels like being on Real Housewives of Miami. She learned to figure out who is full of shit and doesn't like her. And being around a lot of strong, independent women, she kind of needed to be outspoken and be able to tell her story. So she thought if it would be carried once in the Traitors, but it's a quiet game, and she doesn't think she would have tried to apply the same strategy she does in Housewives. So she says that she feels like she had to survive. She thinks the Housewives could have really united and come up with a solid traitor, but her decision was impulsive, and she shook things up for too many people, and she feels they're all wounded animals and a herd of sheep. I like that she at least owns the fact that she played way too hard here, and she did way too much, but it doesn't change the fact that like she actively did this to herself. Like she actively put herself in this position. She didn't have to go here by any means. I think if she had just kind of kept quiet, she could have still had something going on with the Housewives, but like maybe steer it towards Tamra and really like push it onto Kevin. I think honestly that would have been fine. Tamra gets the heat and you don't, but it just seemed like she was so determined to like steer the ship and like be the leader, and it just really ended up catching up to her real fast. So yeah, like I said, I appreciate the fact that she owned her game, but you know, it doesn't change the fact that like she actively hurt herself. And I also don't appreciate things she said post game, because apparently she's been saying things like, "Oh, Janelle was just jealous of me. I'm more famous than her. I'm more iconic than her." Like, it's just annoying. Like that's not at all what it's about.
She's acting like a child. Like she's a grown woman. Like just grow up. Also,
listen, Janelle does too. I'm not going to act like she doesn't, but
I mean,
in this scenario, at least on this show, I've been liking Janelle so far. So
like, same. Like at least, like Janelle definitely has like really immature moments too. But in this game, she's been fine. Like, just outside of the game, she can be a little petty. But
yeah, Janelle the person, not so much. But Janelle the player, I'm very much a fan. So
definitely.
But yeah, I mean, her going here makes the most sense. I'm not at all surprised that it did end up happening. And I think just in general, like it absolutely like caught up to her, and it made sense for her to go. So yeah. But again, really liking.
I was very happy Larsa left.
Oh yeah, she was really the only person besides Trishelle that I'm just really not a fan of. Really just have not been liking her. Each episode, I feel like I've been liking her less and less. So I was happy that she went out here. Because I like the other Housewives. Like I can say Shereé is playing a terrible game, but I still like her. She's still fun to watch. MJ,
Yeah.
I think, also is playing pretty badly, but like I don't think she's bad to watch or anything.
Oh yeah, agreed. Like they are very fun to watch. They're just not good players.
Yeah, Larsa's just not somebody I enjoyed watching. So
Larsa
yeah,
just like gives very like unlikable vibes.
yeah, she really does. She really does. But yeah, other than that, I think, like I said, the only thing to really speculate on is what's going to happen now. And the answer is, I have no idea. This
I
is
don't
so
either.
unpredictable at this point. I do think Kevin is on his way out. I
I can
absolutely
see
think
it.
he's probably going to get murdered next. But
Yep.
after, like, not murdered, but banished.
Yeah, same. I agree. I
After
can see
that,
it.
though, I mean, I see the traitors turning on each other. I really see that
Yeah.
happening. I
It'll
think
probably
that
be like Dan and Parvati versus Phaedra, and
yeah.
then maybe and then if like one of them leaves, maybe they recruit somebody.
Well, the other big thing to talk about, of course, is Kate. Kate shows up next episode.
Yeah,
Very
I'm,
excited for that.
I'm
Do you
excited.
think she's going to be a faithful or a traitor?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know how far she's actually gonna make it this time. I mean,
No.
I don't see her making it as far as last time. Like, she'll probably
Well,
maybe
this
she'll
is a
stay.
different kind of cast, so I don't
Yeah.
know.
So like this, I could see her maybe making it at least a couple episodes, but maybe not like too long, just because
Why
she
do I
is.
see like her and Tamra like hitting it off? Like I just see it
Yeah,
happening. I feel like
I can
she's
see
gonna
that.
be in the Housewives clique. Like I
Mhm.
see that happening.
I can see that unless the gamers like pull her in.
I mean, maybe, but she didn't get along with like Rachel last season, so I don't know. Like, I feel like she's not
True.
gonna click with the gamers. I feel like Kate has that like don't give a fuck
Why do I feel
personality, and because of that, like she's
again?
gonna
Again, I can see her and Janelle being like not getting along
maybe we'll see. I don't
because
know. I just
everybody's
feel like
always because it seems
yeah,
like all most women like always go for Janelle.
yeah. I mean, Janelle's gonna keep getting the shield, so we'll see what
Oh
happens
my god,
there.
yes. If Janelle's arc is just getting the shield, please just keep it.
Yeah, it's great to see.
I love it.
But
It's
yeah,
so spicy.
I do think Kevin probably is the next to get banished. In terms of who gets murdered, like I said, probably Peter or Bergie. I think that makes the most
Probably.
sense to me.
Yeah.
Completely. Even John, like as much as I hate to say it because I love John so much. He's so
John's just a
iconic.
king.
I do think John is also maybe on his way out in terms of banishment. I don't think
Yeah.
he's going to be around much longer, but we'll
Oh,
see.
I think so too. Like he's just yeah, like he didn't really have much of an edit this past
Mhm.
episode, so it's just like yeah, I don't see him making it much further.
Yeah, the faithfuls that I think are making it the farthest, I think are probably going to be like definitely Sandra,
Yeah.
definitely CT. I think those
Sandra and
two for
CT.
sure are going to make it far. But I also think Tamra. I think out of the
Yeah,
housewives, I think Tamra makes it the farthest.
I
Just
can
because
see
like
it.
she's had
I
the
don't know
most
why
content.
though. I don't know, but I mean, I can see Tamara making it far, but I can also possibly being like, yeah, they don't suspect her. I could see the traders going for her.
That's true. I don't think anyone's gonna think she's a traitor anytime soon because her reads make no sense.
I know. She just like thinks everyone's annoying for the most pettiest shit.
Yeah. Shereé, I don't think is leaving anytime soon either. She's just
No.
really bad at this game. No one's gonna
Yeah.
be suspicious of her. Like
She
I
could
see
be
Shereé.
she could be like
I
an
see
honestly, Shereé could be another Kate too in a way.
yeah, I see her getting murdered. Like I think she's the Stephanie. I think she's the Stephanie, or she gets murdered.
Yeah,
She's like the last to get murdered. I think that's
I
probably
can see
Shereé.
it.
So
Yeah, definitely.
we'll see. We'll
We'll see
see.
though.
In terms of the traders, again, I have no idea what's going to happen. Like, I
I
don't
don't
know
either.
who makes it the farthest.
I
I
will
would
be
like to
so
still say, I think,
I will be so sad once the traders are out though, because I love all of them so much.
oh yeah, no, I don't want to see any of them go, but I do. I mean, the fact they're like turning on each other and being so like, especially Phaedra, like being so like outright about it like that.
I
I
know.
mean, I really just don't know what's going to happen. I hope they
I'm
get to
so excited
recruit
though.
soon so we really get to see like a real like brawl occur, but I don't know what's going to happen. Like I
Ugh,
imagine if
yeah.
let's say Kate comes in and she
Mhm.
immediately is a traitor. Oh my god, they're all just going to be like going for like they're
Oh,
all just going to be trying to scoop her up.
that would be insane,
Yeah.
honestly.
Like I can see like Dan and Parvati like trying to like plan something about Phaedra. Phaedra makes up a lie about them maybe. Like there's so much that can happen there. I really
Oh
want to
yeah.
see that.
Oh,
So,
I'm so hyped. I'm so excited to see what's gonna happen.
yeah. But yeah, other than that, I think we pretty much covered everything. I don't think there's
Yeah.
anything more to really discuss here. Just again, really loving the season so far. Like
Me
I said,
too.
it's truly like must-see reality television. Like every week just continues to
Oh, yeah.
deliver, and I
And I'm
cannot wait to
so
see
happy.
what goes down.
I am so happy it is a weekly show because
Oh yeah,
this
there's
this
so much to
season
talk about.
this season should not be just, like, releasing the
No.
whole season at once.
Yeah, they definitely made the right call with that because there's so much
Yeah.
to talk about every single
Mhm.
episode, as I suspect. I mean, this is
And
this is
literally,
literally
like,
hour and a half.
hour and a half just for one episode.
Yeah, because there's so much to talk about, you know? Like, it's
Yeah.
like it definitely is deserving for sure. Every episode is crazy. So can't
Oh,
wait to
yeah.
see how it goes down moving forward.
Ugh,
But
me too.
yeah, is there anything else we want to plug at this point?
I mean, as of right now, there's nothing really else to plug
Oh,
besides,
how
like,
dare you forget Deal or No Deal Island coming out in a month.
yeah, we
Very
have Deal or
exciting.
No yeah, we have Deal or No Deal Island coming out in a month, and obviously
Yeah.
when Big Brother Canada and Survivor come back,
Yeah.
and then, of course, all of
46 is
our
soon, believe it or not.
I
Only
know!
about a month from now.
Insane. And then,
Yeah.
of course, all of our season reviews we're probably gonna do at some point, whenever
Yeah.
we have time, but that's really it. This is, like, the only thing we're covering right now.
Yeah, we also on my channel we did a reaction to the Oscar nominations. We did it very early in the morning, so that's fun to watch.
Yeah.
You can see Ali having to wake up at literally the crack of dawn to do that video, so
I was
very fun to
literally you
watch.
got to see the most raw Ally. I was, like,
Oh
so
yeah.
tired and out of it, but, like, it was so much fun.
Yeah, it was great to see. Yeah, we'll definitely. We also, I did talk about this before. We are doing on my channel the What We Watch series for 2023. So definitely look forward to that. But other than that, I think that's pretty much it. Really loving the season so far. Can't wait to see where else this really goes. But that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, comment down below. Let us know what you guys are thinking of this week's episode of The Traitors and what the hell is going to happen moving forward. Like I said, I think Peter and Bergie probably the most likely to get murdered, but who gets banished?
Probably.
I have no idea. I think maybe Kevin, but I don't know. I
We'll
really
see.
don't know.
Because
So
this game, like, everyone's so messy and unexpected, you never know.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's messy players, but then you also have like Parvati and Dan and Sandra who are just like top tier, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So,
Like, please, can they just, like, go far? Like, all the gamers, thank you.
oh my God, I hope so. That alliance is just, chef's kiss. It's so good.
Ugh.
But yeah, other than that, for this video, hope you guys enjoyed it. And remember, couples who podcast together, stay together. We will see you guys later.
Have a good day, guys.